All right, gang. Can you guys hear me out there? Let's give it up for Raymond and Tina Abernathy. They did a phenomenal job tonight. Well, good deal. Well, gang, come on in, have a seat. We're gonna kick off the second part tonight. So everybody get to your seat, quiet down a little bit, because I want to help you guys understand who's coming to up on the stage. And I was listening to Raymond Abernathy, and one of the things that he said, and it struck me, because I thought about this individual when he said it, but he was talking about focus, right? And the first person that came to my mind was the speaker coming up next. And I'm going to tell you, if you're here and you're brand new, I want you to take some notes, because what these guys are doing with the system we have is it will run the socks off of anything out there. It's a big, big deal. And this gentleman, basically a little bit of his background, he was, came from he was an engineer, and, he grabbed a hold of this, recognizing, man, this is a people business, but he had big dreams. And it was amazing because he was introduced to this and met a gentleman by the name of Chris Brady and Orrin Woodward. You kept hearing Raymond talk about these two, and he recognized showing up into this community how big of an opportunity this is. And since then, he's literally now financially independent. And this is what's so important. When he gets up here on this stage, one thing you guys can realize is he's helping people all over the country get their financial freedom. And that got me so excited when I was sitting in your shoes. And I want you guys to understand, it's a big deal. Not only is he helping other people, he's being mentored by one of the #1 leadership experts in the world, Orrin Woodward. And we've got this gentleman up here getting on this stage tonight. So help me welcome Mr. Mark Haas.
They go on and on about you, don't they? Holy cow. Gee whiz. Well, I appreciate that. Go ahead, grab a seat. Raymond and Tina did an awesome job, didn't they? They're just phenomenal. So we're so blessed to have that caliber of speakers here in St. Louis. I really appreciate them. So, I don't know if you guys had a chance during the break to check out this income disclosure statement, but, this is a pretty amazing piece of information here where it talks about the different levels in the life business. And, I know we're going to have another one coming out here pretty soon. And I know that, we just passed our second year of business basically, and we had, double-digit growth. And for any kind of a company, that's amazing. And so I was on the conference call the other day with Orrin Woodward and Chris Brady, and they were talking about, we had great, double-digit growth and stuff like that, and that's awesome for a company, but we want to be a company of excellence. And so they said, we're looking to even surpass this next year. And so they've got a lot of really cool things in place for that, right? So, it's great. It's great to be part of a company that really strives for excellence. And so, but if you come over here and you take a look at this sheet, and the one that'll be coming out just like it here pretty soon, you can find a space on here that you're looking for to earn a certain amount of income. And so, when you get started in this, the object here, let's see if this makes sense. The object here is to move through this chart. And there's another piece of paper over here, and come over here, and I'm sure the bonus chart is somewhere. Where is it? Is it in here somewhere? Isn't there a bonus chart on here somewhere? I'm clueless, huh? Can't remember. Is there not a bonus chart on here somewhere? Well, there's the income disclosure statement, yeah. So it's similar to this, but there's a bonus chart too. Let me. I don't have it. I don't have it. But there's a bonus chart when you go to the Life website and you pull up your screen, you look at your business, the homepage, and on the left-hand side, you'll basically see, a box that's got the different levels in it, basically the students and the coordinators and the leaders and stuff like that. And then up at the top, there's a bonus chart, and I don't have the bonus chart memorized. I should have it probably figured out, whatever it is and stuff. But, it goes from basically 0 all the way up to 15,000 points, okay? And we call that PV, basically. And every product that you purchase has a point value associated with it. All the Life products have a purchase. And so object is to move up the chart, essentially, right? And as you're moving up the chart, basically what you're doing is moving down through this income disclosure statement. Make sense? And so how many people could get, this is simple to understand, how many people, if you want your goals and dreams faster, you want to move up the chart faster, right? That makes sense. That's the objective, right? It's to move up the chart faster if you go to that page and you get to the percentage. You're at the 5% and the 10%, 15, 25, right? You're going all the way up to 50%. That's the bonus level that you're at when you climb that chart. You're at 15,000 points. And so having multiple organizations at the top of the chart, which is one of the things that starts to push you down through this right here. And so at different levels of bonuses, and I'm not going to get into all the details. You can look at the compensation plan and go that. But you're essentially, the objective is to move up the chart. And so when you're moving up the chart in one organization, so to speak, what happens is, you're getting a rebate back on your product. So basically, you're investing in yourself. Let's say that. Benjamin Franklin basically said, invest your purse into your head. Isn't that a weird thing these days, is to talk about in America and to invest in you? Invest in you, right? If you actually take the financial fitness course, basically one of the first principles is pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. Invest in yourself. And so we're going to talk a little bit about investing in yourself tonight. We're also going to talk a little bit about investing in your community. And so if you want to move up that chart, so to speak, or you want to move down this income disclosure statement and get nestled in there, how many people would like to nestle a spot right in here, somewhere around the high leader or average leader level? Here's the average leader level, next to $3,600 a month. That'd be pretty good for anybody, right? And so, you got all kinds of different levels here. This is a good one, $53,000 a month, $15,000 a month. There's plenty good levels there. But even some of the smaller ones, there's some here, this one here, because it's talking about the trips that go in it. It's included. There's a $1,000 a month one that's included, the student $6,000. And so you can kind of come over here and pick a level on that chart. But the object literally is the move up the bonus chart that's on the website, right? This makes sense? That's the object. And so one of the things that Raymond talked about over here is that B-type business. When you draw out ESBI, you draw out the B-type business. I can draw that again here real fast. We're talking about the B-type business over here. And so that runs on a system, right? System, however you spell it. I know it's not spelled that way. I just wasn't going to fix it. So business system, right? And so you've got McDonald's that runs on this business system, okay? And so the object when you're looking at a B-type business is, number one, it needs to be system dependent, not you dependent. Is this important to make sense? That's very, very important. Now, the other thing you need to understand if you're going to be over here is you have to understand the term wealth. Robert Kiyosaki talks about wealth is you have to have three things. You have to have, number one, delayed gratification. That means putting off what you could have now for something better, right? Number two, long-term vision. You got to be able to see out there a little bit further. You got to recognize it doesn't happen next week. This is very hard for people that are used to getting a paycheck. They've got paycheck mentality, They also have spending abundance in their life and investing scarcity. Most people have scarcity in terms of thinking when it comes to investing and spending abundance, right? And so it's always about what they're earning and always about what they're spending, right? Spending and earning, that's the average person on the left-hand side. So over here it's spending and earning, but over here you're using a system, okay? And so delayed gratification, the power of compounding is the last one. Long-term vision, delayed gratification, power of compounding. If you're going to get wealthy, no matter what, you have to have something that compounds. And so if you have a lot of money, you can basically use money to compound, right? But of course, then there's that joke that says, how do you make a small fortune? Start with a big one, right? A lot of times, if you're down in this quadrant here, it's very risky. if you're in the investor quadrant. But this is the half that gives you time and money. This is the half you get wealthy on. You're not going to get wealthy over here. You can't get wealthy in an earned income quadrant. There's no way to get wealthy over on the left-hand side. So how many people like the word wealth? Wealthy. Does that sound good? I mean, it almost should be like a French word, or something, wealthy, or something, right? Right? You're wealthy, right? Now, wealth has a time component to it. That's the whole point of being on the right-hand side, because you get a system that takes over. So it's not just the money, it's the time. And I really just like to say it this way. It's freedom. It's freedom. And what's freedom mean? What's freedom mean? It means more options. That's really what it means. It means more options. Freedom is more options. See, if you're trading time for money and you got a lot of money, but you're trading all your time, you're not really freer, right? There's not really more freedom. You might have more choices financially, but you have less choices with your time. And so who knows, you've just traded one for the other. But if you're over here and you're creating wealth, you can get both. You can get time and money. And boy, that gives you options, right? And so, by the way, freedom doesn't mean the ability to do what you want. It means more options, right? If I say, hey, you can drive any speed you want outside, and I tell everybody you can drive any speed you want outside, do you get more options or less? Less, you die, right? Everybody wrecks, right? Right? So it doesn't mean you get to do what you want. It means you get more options. So sometimes there are some rules to follow in order to get more options. This makes sense? Right? There's a way of doing things to get more options. And so I'm going to tell you the rules to follow you in order to get wealthy. And so it doesn't mean that there aren't any rules. You can build this however you want. It means that there's a system to follow. And so if you want to get wealthy here, I'm about ready to tell you how to do it. And so the key is, and by the way, when you're wealthy, that's up to you how you do that and what you do with that. Whatever you do with your time. If you want to give it to your children, great. That was my number one thing. How many people want to give more time to their kids? How many people want to spend more time? There are people in here that want to be stay-at-home moms and stay-at-home dads. That's right. Put your values in your children, right? They don't have to go to storage every day. You could stay with you, Daycare, storage. So anyway, so more options, freedom. So how do we get that? Well, here's what you have to have. Over here, remember, this runs on a system. Think McDonald's. It's not the burger that makes McDonald's successful. It's not the big and nasty, as Raymond says. Right? It's not that. It's not 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, special cheese, right? Lettuce, tomato on a sesame seed bun, right? It's not that. That's not what does it, right? What does it is they've got a system, right? And that system is very, very important. That's how you get wealthy here, because this isn't a big investment type of thing up front. It's $100, plus shipping and tax, $110, price of a tank of gas these days, right? Or when you run one of those red lights and they send you the picture in the mail, Does anybody get any of those? You're not showing up plans. Anybody get any of those? Yeah, okay, there you are. Those are my plans, yours. So basically what we need is a system to do the business. And so let's think about it this way. You're going to need 3 things when it comes to this business to be systematized. You need 3 things. You need, number 1, you need systematic growth. Number 2, you need systematic education. And number 3, you need systematic volume. You need systematic growth, systematic education, systematic volume. You need 3 things. I might write these up here. So you need growth, education, volume. Is that dog Raymond was doing earlier? Systematic growth, education. The other way to say this, by the way, that Chris has some great CDs on this, is conquer, fortify. Oh, that's a F. Oh man, if I screw up something, it's just like I can't. My brain doesn't even work. Domesticate. Conquer, fortify, domesticate. See, one of the problems with the traditional networking model is when people go out and recruit, sell, whatever you want to call it, bring people in, customers and additional distributors, it's very difficult to keep them. And so if you don't keep them, then long term it's really not a B-type business. You're not getting wealthy. You're just trading time for money again. You're just carrying that bucket through that bucket analogy. And so the objective is to build something that lasts in order to get wealthy. And the real objective is to duplicate, to create the compounding, right? And so in order to get that done, you're going to have to build it understanding these three parts. And so on the team, when you get started in life, if you want to go up the chart fast, that's where I started with. You want to go up the chart fast because you'd like to make some income. You want to pay attention to these three things. And so the first thing you want to do, if you're brand new in the room, the first thing that you want to do is you want to understand, well, how do we get systematic growth? Well, the way we get systematic growth, and we can also get systematic education, is this program that we've got. It's called Club 180. And basically, Club 180 is, Ryan's got a sheet for me and a first night pack, and it's great. You can go to the website, and you can find this sheet on here, and you can print it off, and it's called Club 180. And basically what Club 180 stands for is basically you can turn your life around 180 degrees. And so how many people would like to get out of debt, like to spend more time, all the things that we were talking about in terms of your goals and dreams, or maybe climbing down that chart and climbing up the bonus chart, you can do it by following this Club 180 program. And so what happens is the Club 180 program is, anytime you show a plan, our growth is 180. Anytime you show a plan, you get 6 points for it. And so if you show 15 plans a month, that's the standard here. So 6 plans times 15 equals 90 points. And then in the education side of it, basically you're supposed to listen to 3 CDs a day. And so why 3 CDs a day? Well, it takes something to start to quit thinking like somebody that lives on the left-hand side of the quadrant and start thinking that somebody that lives on the right-hand side of the quadrant. Because naturally, we're indoctrinated to think earn and spend as opposed to invest in ourselves and invest in our community. We're thinking earn and spend, earn and spend. So most people come into this business, and the very first thing they start thinking is, how much do I have to spend? And how much will I earn? And how many people I have to recruit? And how much will I get paid off of them? These are terminology that they use. And most of the time, they're not really the right terminology for our industry, because that's not what we're trying to help you understand. We're trying to help you understand how do you get wealthy. And you got to implement the power of compounding. You got to have duplication in order to get wealthy. And so what you want to start out doing basically is showing this idea 15 times a month. And you get 6 points, and you keep track of it on here. And then you want to listen to 3 CDs per day. Now, if you're going to listen to 3 CDs per day, and you're going to listen to CDs that have been produced by the top people in this industry, you're going to need to be on something called life training. So life training is what we get started pretty much when we get people started in the way we do it. And the recommended way to get started is get involved in that life training. You want the information right away, the fastest, best information. How many people like the shortcut? You want the shortcut, okay? This is the shortcut. I'm giving you the shortcut. By the way, if you try to shortcut the shortcut, then you get cut short. Okay? And so this is our 180 program right here. 3 CDs a day and 6 points per plan, 15 plans a month. And you keep track of it right here, and then you get called Club 180. And then there's special recognition at some of the trip tracking parties that they've got. There's recognition. I think they might be doing some at the seminars now. There's special conference calls that we've had and stuff like that. And it kind of builds a little group. Now, why do you want that Club 180? Well, because you have to have systematic growth. And if you don't have systematic growth, if you don't have a culture of systematic, I'm going to introduce a new term here to you called culture. See, in order to get the duplication to take place, you have to create the culture. And what most people do is they come into this industry and they think, well, how many people do I have to sell? How many people do I got to sign up? How much do I have to do? You're never going to put enough people in personally in order to get it to get big enough. So what you have to do is you have to find out what system could you follow that duplicates so that it does get big enough so that you can get your goals and dreams. This makes sense? Because you won't be able to recruit enough people on your own. You'll just be a full-time salesperson doing that. So instead of trying to recruit enough people to get it big enough to get wealthy on your own, it'll never happen. What system could you follow that causes the duplication to happen so that you get the power of compounding kicking in? And that's really why I'm going through this, is because you need to understand that if you want a B-type business and you want to get wealthy, you got to follow a system, but the system has to create duplication. If the system doesn't create duplication, then you're going to end up doing all the work yourself until you start to figure out that there better be a system of duplication. And so the key is systematic growth, systematic education, systematic volume. And so for systematic growth, if you have a team of people, let's say, for instance, I'll start to draw a team here. If you have a team of people, and let's say you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's say you have 10 people, and each one of these people, let's say, and by the way, I'm going to bring that word culture back a minute. So culture essentially means the team habit. The team habit. Orrin explains it like a being in a pool, one of those steel pools that you used to run around in circles, and then you get the current going, and so you've got this current going in the pool. And when someone comes in, they just see, oh, the current's good, and you sit on your back and kind of get going around there and stuff like that. So you want to create the current, the right current. If you don't have the right current in your pool, then you won't have the right culture. If you don't have the right culture, then you won't get duplication. And so what you want is this current and this word called culture. I'm going to write it up here, culture, C-U-L-T-U-R-E. Not culture club, but culture. Raymond was quoting songs. Don't you guys know that one? Do you really want to hurt me? There you go. That's a mercy laugh. Like, come on, we're better laugh so it gets over, right? I was looking for that song, Joy and Pain, back there on my iPhone. I don't know what it's. That's not the title of it. I was going to play it, for Raymond. So we're going to create this culture. And so if this is you, let's say this is you, and I want to show another analogy here. If you have a box, and you could put $10 in the box, and you could get out of it $100, how many would like that box? Right? And would you have scarcity mentality with the $10, or would you have abundance mentality? Like would you break your kid's piggy bank? Right? Obviously, that's what you do. And so when you understand duplication, you'll understand this concept here. But when people come in, they have scarcity mentality. They're thinking cost. The cost. Everything's cost. I have to earn that $10. I'm going to spend it. It's going to cost me. That's what they're thinking. But in the way you understand this is, when you get started up here, what you would like to do is duplicate yourself. And so you can only duplicate a master copy. And one of the things that Orrin always taught me is that you will duplicate 100% of what you do wrong and 50% of what you do right. And so the object then is, if you want to have growth, what you want to do is you want to create a culture of 180. And what a culture is a team habit. It's the habit of the organization, the community that you're building. And so the best way to do it is for you to do Club 180. Now, you might think, well, what's that going to cost me? It's going to cost me time away from my kids. And it's going to cost me probably a first night pack or a couple, because I'm going to go show the plan. And when you go show the plan, you give this pack to somebody and let them listen to CDs, right? And so you're thinking, what's it going to cost me? That's what a lot of people think. But when I see it, I don't think that way, because if you create this culture, then what happens is you have people down here doing Club 180. And then someone down here doing Club 180. And you can actually be pretty bad at this, which means you might be giving these packs out, and you might be showing this idea, and you might be trying to do your 15 plans a month, and maybe none of the people that you know are getting involved. But because you've created the culture, some of the people in your organization are better than you. And so when you see this, you have to see over here that it's like putting the 10 in and getting the 100 out. But if you don't put the 10 in, you won't get the 100 out. Make sense? And so it's about creating the culture. And so the other thing we'll say on the team, you'll hear us say in the life business, that the leaders build the culture and the culture builds the team. And actually, the leaders build the culture. I'll say it this way, I wrote it down. The leaders build the culture by following the system. Then the culture builds the team by duplication. So if you don't follow the system, number one, you won't ever be called a leader. And number two, if you don't follow the system, you'll never be able to build the right culture. You'll have the water and the waves going in all different directions in your pool. And then when new people come in, it won't be very easy for them because there's no culture. And so what you want to do is you want to think leader right off the bat. And I'm not referring to leader on here. If you think leader in here, then you'll get to leader on here, that's for sure. But the leaders make the money. And it really doesn't matter where they are on the team. If somebody down here becomes a leader, then more of the money's going to flow to them. More of the money will flow to that person than that person. It doesn't really matter. It flows to the leader. How do we know who the leader is? It's usually the person that ends up going power player. And how's the person go power player? Well, they can't even go power player without doing Club 180 because it's one of the requirements. It's just a subset of it. So what you want is, again, I'll say it again, the leader builds the culture by following the system, and then the culture builds the team by duplication. And that's how you get it big. You have to do it that way. It doesn't work any other way unless you want to be self-employed selling stuff all the time. And so that's not what I wanted. I wanted duplication. I wanted freedom. I wanted more choices. And so what I decided to do is follow the rules of the system so that I could get more choices and I could allow duplication to happen. This makes sense? This is really how this works. And so the other thing that you want to duplicate is, here's the growth part, the conquer part, because if it's not growing, then obviously you're not moving up the chart, right? So it has to grow. Number two, you have to get education into your team. If you have a team that looks like this, and you've got them all listening to 3 CDs a day, then now you've got people that know stuff that you don't have to teach them, right? And that's, again, freedom. That's more choices. So you listening to your 3 CDs a day isn't less time for you. It's more time for you because you're creating a culture of other people listening to CDs. Make sense? Okay, and so it's like putting that $10 in the box, instead I'm talking about time now instead of basically money. And so then you're getting more out because your box is the system, however you spell it, SYSTEM. I know how to spell it. My brain just doesn't follow my hand sometimes. So, even if I don't spell it, I still don't have a job, doesn't matter. So somebody be watching this and think, what a moron, I don't want to do that business. So anyway, so is this making sense so far? If you get this part, it's hard to get it because we're not normally wired to work this way. We're not thinking about duplication and all that stuff. We're thinking about being the answer person and all that stuff, but that doesn't work here. And so you're going to use the system. You're going to use the system of education. That's why everybody's going to get on life training. The other thing that we have here in our education isn't just life training. The other thing in the education side is what I call total access. That means you're going to be here on Tuesdays, every Tuesday, all of them. You can't be a power player if you miss one. So if you have people not here tonight, this is the most power players we're going to have in the next, between major to majors, this group of people that's here at this seminar. Anybody that missed isn't a power player. And so, besides a death in the family or something like that, there are some of those situations, we don't get weird about it. But so total access is the other thing you want, which that means you're on Life Live and you're on Life Library. Because again, you've got people plugged into this environment. It's duplication that you're looking for. And so then the last part I'm going to talk about now is the volume. And this is the part where people tend to have a hard time. But I really just want to say, I want to call this part of the talk, why 200 points? Well, when you're trying to get up that chart, you're trying to get up the bonus chart, okay? If we asked everybody to invest $2,000 a month in themselves, wouldn't that be unreasonable? That'd be rough. Compared to a traditional business, that really wouldn't be that rough. It really wouldn't for those, there's plenty of business owners in the crowd that would raise their hand, but it would still be rough for the average person that comes in employee and they're not used to those kind of expenses. That would be rough. And so that's too high of a number. It's not duplicatable. You're not going to compound that one. You're not going to find that many. But it'd be kind of nice because it'd mean you'd only have to put 7 people in, right? Right? To get to 15,000, if everybody did 2,000, 7 times 2 is 14, 7.5 people, right? So, but that's too high, and 7.5 is not very many, and that's kind of, so you can see the trade-off, right? Lots of investing in yourself and in your community, fewer people to put in, right? Little bitty, teeny weeny investment, if you just said everybody can spend $1, how many people would you have to put in? You'd have to put in 15,000 people, So, right, there's a what's the right number? You know why McDonald's has a value meal? Because they like to standardize the amount of money that everybody comes in and spends. They like to standardize it. That's why McDonald's has a value meal. It's a systematic way of just standardizing. Everybody's going to come in and spend $7 or $8, per person. That's pretty much the way they do it. And so they've kind of figured out over the years. So over the years, these guys, they're pretty much, benchmarking engineers. Orrin and Chris are genius, and the policy council. They've got tens of thousands of data points to know what the right number is that's reasonable for what somebody should invest on themselves and in their community. And so that number basically is 200. And so when you look at the number of 200, how many points you want to generate through your circle. Now the good news is you don't have to spend it all. You can use customer volume, and we encourage that. In fact, we have a rule that says after 6 months, you need to have at least 50 points in customer volume, after 6 months. So we give you a long time to do it. Now, if you're doing Club 180, you're never going to have a problem finding that, because there are going to be people that say, I'm not interested in doing your business. There's a gentleman I was just talking to in the back here that says, I'm not sure I want to do the business, but I think I'd be a customer. He'd be a great customer. I'm happy to have customers in my business. I'm happy to have those customers. We've got great products. We've got financial fitness packs. We've got all kinds of fantastic products for customers. And so if you're doing this, you're going to naturally stumble across some customers. It's not that complicated. If you're not doing this, it's going to be hard for you to find some customers. It'd be hard. So that's another reason why you want to do that. But 200 points is the right number. And what you'll find out is if you say 200 points equates to about dollars, okay? Now, I'm not including the training. I'm not including the training, the life training in that money. But 200 points equates to somewhere around $200 because, you have points in dollars. But the books aren't exactly the same. But and when you have total access, it's not exactly the same, but it's somewhere around $200, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe $250, something like that. If someone's spending less, say that we put it to 100 points. Say if we went to 100 points, didn't say 200, we went to 100 points. Is $100 or $125? Does that feel like a real business to anyone? Right? I mean, most people are spending that on their entertainment every month, right? As opposed to life-changing information, right? So if we can spend that on entertainment every month, then this doesn't really feel like much of a real business or much of an investment in ourselves, right? And so this is another reason that when people invest this kind of money in themselves, and I'm going to quit saying money, I'm going to say points. When you invest these kind of points in yourself and in your community, what happens is, remember you want to go up that chart fast. And putting 7 people in to do 2,000 points would go up the chart really fast. The problem would be the 7 people, right? But if we did 200 people, what would happen is that you could get to the top of the chart with 75 people. That's kind of reasonable. Who could see that that's kind of reasonable? Does that seem like a reasonable number, right? That's reasonable. It's going to take some effort. It doesn't mean you're putting in 75, because I'm going to draw that in a minute. I'm going to draw out the duplication part in a second. It doesn't mean you're putting in 75. That's not the objective for you at all. I'll teach the new person kind of how this is supposed to go. And so, but that means 75 people. And so if you have 75 people and you're climbing that bonus chart, people are getting checks fairly frequently. Every month they're getting a check, and every month their check should get a little bit bigger. And it shouldn't take that long to go. In fact, the standard of building this, if you have a culture of Club 180, the standard, what you will find out is that it can go about 10 a month. And it might take you a little bit to get a grip or something like that, or you're on a newer team or something. But if you have a culture, this is why culture is important. If you don't have a culture of Club 180, then it could go really slow. But if you create the culture, a team habit, a habit of everybody doing just enough, everybody following the system, then 10 a month. And so you can even see at the top of the chart at 10 in a month, you'll be up there in 8 months. Assuming that nobody builds a second organization, everybody's just building one, the main one. And that's not how it goes. Our objective isn't to build one. Our objective is to build 2 organizations. That's the Power Player program. And so 200 points is kind of the standard number that you want. And so again, it's duplication. So if you do 50 points, and then now you create a culture of 50 points, and so if you had 10 people, you'd have 500 points. But if you create a culture of 200 points, then in 10 people, you have 2,000 points. Which ones go up the chart faster? 4 times faster, right? 4 times faster. And so do you think it's easier to put in 4 times as many people, or it's easier to invest 4 times as much in yourself? It's easier to invest 4 times as much in yourself. You'll spend more money and more time trying to put in 4 times as many people. Oh, unless you're not doing it and your upline's doing it for you. But that's why Club 180 is important. That's why there's a couple people got that. That's why Club 180 is important. So remember I said you have to have systematic growth, systematic education, and systematic volume. You need all three of them. Now, everybody that comes in, they're not going to do everything I'm telling them up here. That's not what this is about. It's not us trying to say, you got to do everything I'm telling you. I'm just telling you how to get up that chart fast. And the way you do it, if you want to be a leader, you'll get up the chart faster by creating a culture of systematic growth, systematic education, and then systematic volume. And the number for systematic volume is 200. And again, you don't have to buy it. If you're out there doing 180, doing Club 180, you're out there showing 15 plans a month, you're going to find some customers. It's not going to be that complicated. It's when people don't do the 15 plans a month that finding the customers is tough. You're going to find some people every once in a while that say, I'm not interested in your business at all. I love what I'm doing, but that financial fitness pack, that sounds cool. I'm interested in that. That's 100 points right there. It's $100, 100 points, and it's every bit worth it. It's worth way more than that. And so you have the ability to do that. So you want to create this culture of 200 points in your organization because this gets you up the chart faster. That's the whole objective. Every month you should be thinking, add people to the team, create a culture of educating them so they know what they're doing, they're showing the plan, get them to the events, and then get the volume flowing. And then the next month you put another group in, right? And then that's moving you up the chart. And of course you do it in one organization, then you do it in two. This is how you follow the Power Play program. This makes sense? And so you got to have all three of these, because if you don't have all three, if you just have growth and no education, then you have a replacement, and you got to replace people that quit. You're going to get some quitters here and there, people that just signed up and they never came to anything. They wouldn't unless you'll get some of those, and don't let that bother you, because people quit things. Quitters quit. All you know about a quitter is they know how to quit. Okay, and think about it. People quit. They quit their jobs. They quit sports. They quit, right? They quit stuff, and sometimes for good reasons. Sometimes it's good to quit something. Right? Quit smoking, right? Or something like that, right? Right? Whatever, quit drinking, right? Quit beating your kids, right? There's some things that are good to quit, right? Right? So there are some things. So the point is that you got to have each one of these, and you'll have some people that won't follow this, and you'll have some people that will quit. But that's not a big deal, because if you create the right culture, you're going to grow anyway. There'll be ups and downs, but the up and down trend is always going to be up. That makes sense? And so I'm going to draw one more really quick thing in here and show you how this should grow. And I'm going to draw it in the volume spot because I don't have a big enough board to do it everywhere. And so duplication is the key. Everything I've just taught you, I've taught you for a reason, so that we can build the business right now. We can put it together. And so here's what happens. You get on a team of people, and there's probably somebody like Raymond and Tina Abernathy up here, okay? Ray, RTA. Raymond, Tina Abernathy right there, right? And maybe there's a Josh and Annie Dames, right? Okay? So, right? So we'll just go with these two examples right now. So I'm just going to put them in there right to begin with. So you're brand new. What's your objective? Club 180. 3 CDs a day. Become a student right off the bat, because you got to create the culture in your team. By the way, when you get started, this is your team. It's just you. But you have an upline that's there to help you. Would you like to do things to encourage them to help you, or would you like to do things to discourage them and let them help someone else? You want to encourage them to help you, right? Because they're there to build your team. They're there to help you build it, work together. And so, for instance, so this is you. I'm going to put a big U. And so this is Raymond and Tina Abernathy. And so you're going to go and you're going to do Club 180. And so in the beginning, probably what's going to happen is Raymond and Tina are going to come over and they're going to help you contact. They're going to maybe do a business launch. Maybe they're going to sit down with you and they're going to follow the script because it's duplicatable. And they're going to sit down and they're going to say, okay, hey, have I caught you at a bad time? No. Well, what's going on? Well, I fell in with a couple of engineers who are pioneering a leadership development company. They're expanding right now, looking for a couple key people. I thought of you. Can't promise anything. It's Thursday night at 7, right? They're going to follow the script. Most of you guys have heard the script. You kind of use it. And so you are going to use that script, call some people, and the object is to contribute to people. That's the object. You want to contribute to people. Replace yourself. Now, this isn't Aunt Millie that's never going to do anything and Cousin Weezer that's going to quit, okay? 2 people to replace yourself. What's replace yourself mean? They'll be here on Tuesday night. If there's an emergency or something that they would miss work for, okay, that'd be the reason they wouldn't be here. Other than that, they're going to be here. And so And so you get these couple of people involved. And so then what happens is you can't start a second organization until you're 10 deep. And you've replaced yourself with 2 people. So basically, this is not that complicated. If you follow the Club 180 culture, then what are these people going to be doing? Same thing, Club 180. See, this is why it's important that you do Club 180, because you're probably not going to get them to do Club 180, because we'd call them the leader and you wouldn't be the leader. And so you want to do Club 180 because they were going to learn from you. You create the culture. It's very difficult to create the culture if you don't have the majority of people doing it, right? Does this make sense? And so this person's going to do Club 180, and so in order for them to start a second organization, what do they got to do? Be 10 deep and contribute 2 people, right? Right? You see how it gets 10 deep for you? But you have to create the culture. You have to lead by example, right? Now, if you're doing 200 points, what are we teaching them to do? 200 points. See how all this goes together? 200 points, 200 points, 200 points. And what you've got up here is an expert, and Ray and Tina and Josh and Annie, to help these new people become effective. We have something called sling, squeeze, and side action. It's in the Team Builders textbook, by the way, that teaches how this goes. But you've got experts up here that are willing to get a sitter for their children, that are willing to put gas in their car, and help you and the people in your organization to continue to make that go deep. So we're just looking to replace yourself with 2 people. Once you're 10 deep and you put 2 in there, then you start a second one. By the way, if you don't have the right culture in the first one, starting a second one won't do any good. So you want to create the right culture. Does this make sense? And once you create that culture, you get a lot of duplication. Let me say it again. The leaders build the culture by following the system. 200 is one part of the system. Total access is part of the system. Club 180, that's all part of the system. 200 points, Club 180, CDs, listen, it's all part of the system. The leaders build the culture by following the system, and then you see how the culture that you created now starts to build the team. But if you don't have anybody in here doing Club 180, guess what? You don't have anybody in your downline listening to CDs. And so if you're what you want to be, you don't want to be the weak link. You want to be the strong link, and you want to listen to CDs. You want to be the strong link, and you want to show the plan. You want to be the strong link and do 200 points, because if you're not doing it, it's not going to duplicate down. See, the key to wealth is duplication. You have to have something to compound. And if you don't do this, then what you have to do is be the salesperson and do it all yourself. And you don't want to do it all yourself, which you don't want to be the salesperson and have to do it all. You want to create duplication. And when you duplicate it in one organization, of course, then the objective is, I'm going to clean some of this up here. Then the objective is to go over here and start a second organization. Now you know what you're doing because you've been showing 15 plans a month. And so when you get the first person started, do you think it's that difficult to help them sit down and make a list, contact people, and help them put 2 more in? And then what are you going to do? You're going to go help these people put 2 in, right? And then you're going to help these people put 2 in, right? Makes sense? And so you just create, it's just a business of duplication. And so your objective isn't to be the biggest recruiter on the planet. Your objective isn't to be the best salesman on the planet. Your objective isn't to be the best contactor on the phone. Your objective isn't to be the best cold contactor or the best prospector. It's not, that's none of that stuff's your objective. When people come in this, they think that that's their objective. They're going to be talking to every human being on the planet. No, your objective is just to follow the system and duplicate yourself. Because when you have that little model, it's the duplication in the culture that takes over that gets the thing big. Does this make sense? And that's freedom. That's how you get freedom. So don't make it complicated and don't fight the system. Don't see it as this big cost, as this big thing that you got to do. It's some obligation. Don't see it that. See it as the thing that you get to do. See it as the thing that you don't have to experiment. See it as the thing that somebody else has already come along and figured out, and you don't have to play Russian roulette and try to figure this thing out. See it as the thing that you just say, holy cow, just step by step. And there's all kinds of things in the system to do. You can get the Team Builders textbook and you start learning. But if you just keep it really simple, do Club 180, make sure you're on life training and total access, and do 200 points. Just make it that simple. Do Club 180, be on life training and total access. You need the CDs, right? You're going to need to be in this environment. And then do 200 points. And then I got one last thing for you. One last thing. And we're done. So the reason that we have total access is because even if you're building this online, if people aren't congregating and associating together and seeing each other and meeting each other, they almost don't even realize it's going on. Like I've got people that, have, 40 or 50 people underneath them, but they've never been to one of these. And they could care less about the 40 people that are underneath them. Of course, they've never met them. Who would, And so it's important to try to make sure that when you get people started that you help them understand that we're going to come to these. That's the whole thing. The community is what they need. In order to get out of debt, they need a community. In order to get out of debt, in order to get that new car, they need a community. In order to climb this chart, they need a community. The community is their asset. That's the asset. That's the thing, right? This is so when you have an asset, you protect it, right? Right? You pet it, you hug it, you squeeze it, you love it, right? You bring it water, you make sure you save it seats, at seminar time, whatever, right? Right? You protect the asset, the community's the asset. Now, when they're not here, they don't understand that, but you want to try to help people see that. So one of the biggest keys is building these events, because this is where people see that this is real. This is where they see it on the computer. Hey, there are people here. Hey, they're doing volume. And hey, I just met them. And this person wants to be a stay-at-home mom. Oh my gosh, I'm a part of that. This person wants to help build a church. Oh my gosh, I'm a part of that. This person wants to do mission work. Oh my gosh, I'm a part of that. This person has a ton of debt, and I can help them get out of debt by helping build this community. Oh my gosh, I'm a part of that. See, it's a little bit more, personal than it helps you commit to each other. And so having said that, we've got something coming up at the end of February called our Major Leadership Conference. It's in Columbus, Ohio. Right? And so I know there's a lot of existing people here. There are a few guests and stuff like that here. But if you haven't figured out how to start saving up for that, or you haven't figured out, see what you can do if you don't have your ticket yet. And most of you guys have tickets. But remember, it's a business of duplication. And so where you really want to get your ticket every month is at the ticket holder for the seminar. So you got a ticket coming up with Mark and Christine Militello this weekend, right? This Saturday. They're the guys that started out creating that culture on their team, Club 180, and you're about ready to learn how successful it is. So if you haven't bought into the fact, I'm telling you that's what's been helping the team grow like crazy, you're going to learn from the best in the whole country that started this program with Orrin, that benchmarked it. And so those guys are coming in, okay? And so what's going to happen is there's going to be the general session for people that are on Live, that's who gets to go to the seminar, or you got to buy a $40 ticket at the door, but you might as well get the points, get paid for it, so you're in Life Live. And so when you go to that general session, at the end, what you want is basically everybody should get their ticket that doesn't have their ticket for the major event. And your objective is to stay around and then encourage your people on your team to stay around, right? Because it's duplicatable. It's not real duplicatable to wait to the last minute and then try to figure out how to get 10 people on your team there at the last minute. And so I remember Orrin always used to tell me this one thing. He says that the question isn't are you going, the question is how many are you bringing? So to be a professional, what your real objective is to go out and do Club 180, get on total access, do your 200 points, but as you're building this, basically on a weekly basis, it's get people here. Then on a monthly basis, it's take that group of people to the local seminar. And then on a every 4-month basis, it's take that group of people to the major event. Without the conquer, fortify, domesticate, which is what I just went through, you don't end up with a group that sticks. And so all these things are just systematic ways to make sure that you have growth, systematic. You have education in your team, so you have freedom, more choices, because you don't have to teach them everything. And then you have systematic volume, and it sticks. How many people want a business that sticks? All right, well, God bless you guys. Good night.